31, my lady.
Yes, okay, thank you. Yes, where is the witness? Good morning, Mr. Malebe.
Good morning, ma'am. Judge. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning, Mr. Malebe.
Good.
You can talk. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning, Judge.
Yes, just ensure that there is nothing that is disturbing you in the surrounding. There was a funny sound. That is why we were quiet.
No, I was struggling to switch on the camera, Judge.
Okay. Nelly Siwe, may you proceed to administer the oath to the witness?
Thank you, Judge. Sir, please state your full names and surname for the record.
I am Tisetso Malebe.
Do you have any objections to taking the prescribed oath?
No, I don't, my lady.
Do you swear that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, please raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God, my lady.
Thank you very much. Miss Marriott?
Thank you, my lady. Mr. Malebe, do you have access to case lines?
Yes, I do, ma'am.
Okay. My lady, I'm going to ask to go to page 392 on case lines. To 396. Mr. Malebe, do you have the document before you?
We're going through it, ma'am.
Thank you.
Going through it.
Do you have the document now?
I'm getting assistance, but we'll get there now.
I've shared a document. Can you see it on screen?
Yes.
Do you recognize this document as a statement that you have made?
Yes, I do, ma'am. I went through the statement also, ma'am.
Okay. Do you confirm that you initialed at the end of each page of the said statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And on page 396, do you confirm that you signed the statement?
Yes, ma'am. I did.
Can you confirm the correctness of the contents of the statement?
Yes, it's correct. As I said, I went through the statement.
Thank you. Is there any amendments which you would like to make pertaining to your statement?
No, ma'am.
My lady, I would then request that the statement of Titetsu Malebe be handed in as exhibit number X.
Were we on our last one was it you?
W, my lady.
W, just a second. So we're now on X.
Yes, correct.
The statement by the witness, Mr. Tisetso Malebe, as it appears on pages 392 to 396 on case line, it's handed in and marked Exhibit X1 or Exhibit X.
X is fine, my lady. There's only one statement.
Okay, that's fine then.
The second
Yes.
statement on page 5917 is just a duplication of the first statement, my lady.
Page
5917 to 5921, it's a duplication of the statement on page 392.
okay. All right.
Now, Mr. Malebe, can you just please explain, I know it's contained in your statement, but just briefly explain the reason why Rebafeni was closed?
Ma'am, dating back, Rebafeni was
Lady, I see Advocate Pinar is raising his hand.
Yes, Mr. Piner.
May it please the court, my lady, is the exhibit has been formally handed in as Exhibit X.
Yes, it's Exhibit X.
There's no objection, my lady. There was no request whether there's any objection from any of the parties, my lady.
Yes, thank you very
Please
much.
the court, my lady.
The exhibit, there has been no objection to the handing in of the statement of Mr. Malebe, Tisetso Malebe. The document has been handed in and marked Exhibit X. Thank you. Thank you,
my lady.
Mr. Pina. Mr. Van Bergen.
My lady, my apologies for interrupting. Could the witness perhaps just be requested to adjust his monitor so that his entire face is visible on the screen instead of just the top half?
Yes, we're having a problem. We can't even see where he is and the documents that he's having before him. We don't see the table. We don't see your head properly. I don't know whether that is proper, but we still can't see what is happening around him.
Sorry, my lady, allow me to assist him with the screen.
Ms. Hassim,
is that visible?
just a second. Can we hear Miss Hassim also here?
Sorry, my lady, I raised my hand to raise the same concern that Mr. Van
Yes.
Bergen.
Because he was like, I also had a problem. Yes, thank you very much. I still can't see where he's sitting, what is happening, but the face we can see now. Is it fine with everyone?
It's better now, my lady. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Continue, Ms.
Thank you.
Merritt.
So my question was,
Okay, thank you.
my question was whether you can just indicate briefly what was the reason behind the closing of Rebafeni?
Firstly, it was the financial implications that became exorbitant, and also we realized that due to inexperience thereof, we could no longer continue with the sentiment.
If you say inexperience pertaining to?
As we went along on our journey after the formation of the NGO pertaining the mental health care users. We realized that it needed a lot more than we had initially envisaged. In terms of like the recreational facilities that were needed for the mental health care users, and the staff to patient ratio that was needed to run the two houses. And we felt also we are understaffed, and we couldn't afford also to pay for like the additional staff that was needed, and the grant that was given to us by the department, it couldn't meet the threshold of the patients that we had.
You mentioned you realized you needed a lot more. Who are you referring to when you say we?
When I said, can you elaborate a bit further, ma'am? So
you mentioned we realized. Who did you refer to? Yourself, including who?
Like I said, like if I can put it in context for you, Rebafeni was it was a victim empowerment that dealt with women abuse. So it had a board that I had to report to, and it was the board that took the decision that this was not viable in terms of what the initial focus was at that point, ma'am.
Thank you.
Just before you proceed, I'm going to ask Mr. Malebe to address you as counsel. Just refrain from this word, ma'am. We're in a court of law today.
Okay, ma'am. Okay,
counsel. Thank you very much. Thank you. Proceed.
As the court pleases. Now, sir, can you briefly explain the circumstances surrounding the death of Mr. Samson Nklapu, if you have information pertaining to that?
Counsel, I'm going to be very brief on that. What happened with Mr. Nklapu, if I recall nicely, I think he was at house 2 in Skurverberg, and in Skurverberg.
Yes.
I think he had what happened was that I think he had a stroke. Then he was taken to Kalafong Hospital. We stayed overnight with him. I remember that night. We stayed the whole night with him. Then we stayed in casualty with him for quite some time, until in the morning, until he was admitted. Then he met his untimely death.
And when he was admitted at Rebafeni, in what physical condition did you receive him?
Ma'am, he was, you know, I've got on my phone when I looked at the pictures when they came. I'm not sure if he was. I've got the picture of all the guys that came there. He was in an okay condition, from what I recall.
He was
okay. They were, because the patients we received were quite high functioning. They were okay when they came to the facility, man. Council, sorry.
And Kuketsu Moguruane, can you explain the circumstances pertaining to his death?
What is the name?
Kuketsu Moguruane, my lady.
Kuketsu.
The surname is M-O-G-O-E.
The name first.
Kuketsu.
Kuketsu Moerane.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Continue.
In regards to, I know him as Christopher, Council Moerane. When they arrived, I think he passed away. I speak under correction, a week or two after they had arrived at our facility. He passed away in House 1. At House 1 was the one in Henops, Rebafeni House 1. He died at Rebafeni.
Do you know the circumstances surrounding his death?
No, I don't know.
What challenges did you have when you received the patients or the MHCUs, the mental health care users?
We can start, if I can take you back to when we first received the first batch of patients.
Lady, there's a hand by Advocate van Bergen.
Yes, Mr. van Bergen.
Thank you, my lady. My lady, if I can just get clarity on the scope of this question. Is this a general question? In which event I would submit it is irrelevant because we're dealing with two specific patients. If it relates to these two patients, then the necessary information has already been given.
Thank you. Ms. Marriott?
My lady, my question was generalized due to the fact that Mr. Malebe is the person that can testify regarding the circumstances at Rebafeni. If the court does not want to allow me to clarify that issue, I'm more than willing to leave the question.
Okay, it's up to you, but what is it that you wanted to achieve on the question?
Just the circumstances surrounding Rebafeni, my lady.
Can we deal with the specific patients as you have already?
Then I'll leave that question, my lady. I have no further questions then for the witness.
All right. Thank you very much. Cross-examination. Who's on behalf of the team of Mr. Watbringer? Mr. Martin, are you there?
May it please you, my lady, I'm a junior to Mr. Martin. My name is Fundile Sangoni. We don't have any questions for this witness, my lady.
Thank you very much. On behalf of, Ms. Govender is there?
As it pleases the court, my lady, we don't have any questions for this witness.
Thank you. Mr. Pienaar, do you have questions to the witness?
May it please the court, my lady, I would request that I reserve my right to cross-examine and to indicate if necessary once all the other cross-examinations has been finalized, if any. Thank you, my lady.
Thank you.
As the court pleases, my lady.
Mr. van Bergen.
Thank you, my lady. My lady, I will try to keep it brief because I think the issues can be limited substantially. If I may proceed, it relates to the allegation that not all the patients had their records and some did not have medication.
Yes, continue.
Thank you, my lady. Good morning, Mr. Malebe.
Morning, Counsel.
My name is Harry van Bergen. I appear for Life Esidimeni in these proceedings. Mr. Malebe, I'm going to try to keep things short, and much will depend on the answers that you give. So if you can answer with a yes or a no, then I'll appreciate you doing so because it will help to expedite the matter. You stated in your affidavit, Annexure X, that some of the patients did not arrive with full records and some did not have medication. Do you recall saying that?
Yes, I did, yes, I did, Council.
Thank you. The evidence that is on record already, both from staff at Life Esidimeni and more specifically the Waverley facility, as well as the Gauteng Department of Health officials who were involved with the transfer of patients, was that all necessary records were provided to each and every, in respect of each and every user on transfer into the NGO's care. Do you dispute that?
Council, just
a second, Malady, just a second.
Mister, there is a hand here, Mr. Sibara.
Sorry, Malady, I apologize to interject my learned colleague. I think this question is put in a very general statement. Council, my senior needs to specify, because there's evidence which is contrary to what he just put to the witness. He put a general supposition that there's evidence before this court that patients were transferred with the necessary documentations. What are necessary documentations? The statement of the witness is specific.
Can the witness step aside, please?
Let's please the court, my lady. I'm of the view that the question is relevant only if my learned colleague can break it down, specific, which witness testified that they were having documentations when they were transferred to NGOs, because that is not the general feeling of the evidence before this court. Let's please the court, madam.
Thank you, Mr. Sibara. Mr. Late.
As a court, please, my lady. My learned friend just now, a few minutes ago, complained about the generality of the question of Mrs. Marriott. Now he's doing the same thing. You must keep it to the two deceased that the witness testified about.
Thank you very much, Mr. Van Bergen.
Thank you, my lady. If my learned friends were perhaps to exercise just a modicum of patience, I am getting to the two patients. I'm starting with a more general question to lay the groundwork and to record that there is a dispute regarding the allegation of insufficient records. And then I am going to turn to these two specific patients. So if your ladyship would provide me with the leeway just to first lay the groundwork, and from there I will deal with the two specific patients.
I see Mr. Sibara is raising his hand. Mr. Sibara?
My lady, this approach has been discouraged by this court because it distorts the information conveyed to the particular witness. If we put it in a general term, it then becomes unfair, and the recording is going to capture a general statement. My senior should specify which witness testified that the patients were transferred with medical records, with documentations, with clothing, because there's counter evidence to that effect. To put it in a general term, it then distorts the information and the evidence before this inquest, madam.
Thank you, Mr. Sibara.
May I
Mr.
respond?
Van Bergen?
Thank you, my lady. My lady, I stated when I put the question, I state there was evidence specifically from staff at Waverley, and that would be Zanele Buthelezi, and Gauteng Department of Health officials, and those were Dr. Sophie Lenkwani and Noneba Sinella. So to the extent that's necessary, the source has been identified, and that was their evidence, my lady.
Okay, you may proceed along those lines as long as we know where the source of that evidence comes from. Continue.
Thank you, my lady. If the witness can return.
Yes, okay. Thank you. Continue, Mr. Van Bergen. If you can just rephrase the question so that it can be clearly conveyed to the witness.
As your ladyship pleases. Mr. Malebe, as I indicated earlier, there is a dispute regarding allegations of insufficient records having been provided. Evidence was given by specifically Zanele Buthelezi of Life Esidimeni Waverley and Dr. Sophie Lenkwani and Ms. Noneba Sinelo of the Gauteng Department of Health at Waverley that they had ensured that the documentation that was required upon transfer of mental health care users was provided in each and every instance. Can you dispute their evidence?
Counsel, I'm not going to dispute the evidence, but I want to provide clarity on that. And the clarity is that when there were 50 patients that we received on a specific day, 50 files were given to us. The exact number. If there were like when we went to Randfontein, about 55 patients were given to us, 55 patients were given to us. But the problem, when I say is that it was the contents within those files. For example, in some of those files, there were the scripts for the big issue here was the scripts, the medical scripts for the patients were not all in those files, sir.
Right. In respect of these two patients that we are dealing with, Samson Nhlapu and Christopher, as you know him, or Koketso Mokorane, you cannot say what their records entailed.
No, I cannot say.
You cannot say whether their records were sufficient or insufficient.
No, I cannot say.
Thank you. If your ladyship will just bear with me for a moment. Thank you, my lady. I have no further questions unless it may become necessary to request a further cross-examination.
Ms. Hasim?
Thank you, my lady. I
don't know how Mr. Tisetso is sitting with who in wherever he is, because I can see from the mouth and the face that he's busy talking to someone. Can we avoid that, please? We don't know what's happening in that office.
No,
and the court observes everything. Then I can see from your face with the smiles and whatever. I don't know what's happening. I hope that is not done to derail these proceedings. Do you follow, Mr. Malebe?
Yes, I'm following. It's Mr. Kwena is helping me with the screen, so we don't cause.
So you are sitting next to him.
Yes.
All right, continue, Ms. Hasim.
Thank you, my lady. Mr. Malebe, my name is Advocate Adila Hassan, and I represent families of the deceased. I only have...
Morning, Counsel.
Morning. I only have a couple of questions for you. In paragraph 11 of your statement, you say that, you've already also described the challenges you were experiencing, both financial and the fact that you say lack of experience. And by that, I understand that you didn't have the capacity to look after mental health care users. Have I got that right?
Yes, Counsel.
And you say that...
Just a second. Continue.
So in paragraph 11 of your statement, about 5 lines down, you say, I further called Dr. Manamela and informed her that she had put the life of patients in danger. What do you mean by that?
What I meant was that we were running out of, at that time, we were running out of food supplies because what had happened is that once we handed in the termination for the termination of the SLA, that we would no longer be continuing with the running of the program. What happened is that the department also, they didn't, the department also stopped paying for while the patients were there. So it was more likely to say that, no, it was more likely to put pressure on them that they must expedite and help us with the food supplies, which the message did get across to them. And they did in fact bring the food parcels for the patients, ma'am.
So you were being paid by the department to look after the patients?
Yes, we were being paid by the department to look after the patients, ma'am.
And you received sufficient funds to do so?
Yes, we did, ma'am.
And
but in that particular month, where we handed over the termination, that we were terminating, they had subsequently stopped providing funds. And it was just for us to say to them that, no, listen, please, as we agreed, can you please provide the food parcels?
Okay, so they had started providing funds and then they stopped.
Yes, ma'am. After we handed in the termination, ma'am.
But while the patients were still there?
While the patients were still there,
ma'am. You also say in your statement that there was no professional nurse when you received the mental health care users. Was that also because of a lack of payment for the professional nurse from the department?
Ma'am, if counsel, if I can go back to this, we hadn't received adequate training in how we must take care of the patients until the department stepped in and provided and assigned a mentor. In our case, our mentor was Ma'am Salome Mashilo. So then she put down the structures, and she then put down the structures in terms of that we'd need a professional nurse and we'll need an auxiliary nurse. Then it was the onus of us as Rebafeni to get those nurses, which we did get, which we got the nurses. Then that dealt specifically with that's dealt specifically with mental health care users. Then further on, to elaborate further, then we got provided the training in terms of the nurses and the hours which those nurses were supposed to work, and things started to flow better after we got those nurses. But we had received it was a department that gave us the training on how we must work with the nurses and so on.
But when you received the users, you didn't have nurses, isn't that?
No, we didn't.
My lady, if you can bear with me just for a moment, just check my notes. That's it. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Assi. Ms. Minjeral, is she there?
Yes, my lady.
Do you have questions to the witness?
I have no questions for this witness, my lady.
Thank you. Ms. Foster, are you there?
As the court please, my lady, I am present. Can the court?
I only have one question to Mr. Malebe. I was just wondering, Mr. Malebe, the service level agreement, when you signed it with the department, was it signed before you
Before
received
you do that, did you tell us why you're asking the question?
I apologize,
Yes.
my lady.
All right.
Mr. Malebe, my name is Phyllis Foster and I'm appearing on behalf of 4 family members of deceased persons. I will place on record that none of my deceased persons were at Rebafeni or based there. I was just wondering regarding the service level agreements that you signed with the department. Was it signed before you received the medical healthcare users, or did you only sign the service level agreements thereafter?
Morning, Council. Council, if I can, if my memory serves me right, what happened is that I was not aware of the service level agreement. What I was aware of was the license that we had obtained after the guys from infrastructure and infrastructure to get in conjunction with the department had visited the facilities to determine how many patients, how many mental health care users per house were allocated. But as far as the service level agreement, I think the board will give me more insight on that. I was aware of the licenses that were issued, and the licenses were issued before the patients were placed at the facility.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Malebe, sorry, there's just one last question. The payment that you received for the medical healthcare users, did you also receive the payment the moment they arrived? Was there any problems regarding the payment upon arrival of the medical healthcare users?
No, we received the pay. We received. I cannot exactly tell you when we received the funds from the department, the exact date. But what happened was that we had to feed the patients ourselves, and we had to organize the things like the bedding, the linen, and everything ourselves before. Because I think they had issues before before they paid me.
All right. Sorry, maybe I misunderstood your answer. So the patients already arrived and you only received funding thereafter, but you had to provide for them before you received any payment. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, Miss.
And who from the department was responsible for Rebafeni? Who was your contact person?
In terms of we got assistance. We got assistance from everybody at the department. I mean, everybody was they were very welcoming and very nice till the very end, until we terminated our agreement. You know, I mean,
the question is, who was your contact person from at the department?
Department. It was
have any? Did you have any?
It was Salome Mashilo. She was at Rebafeni every single day.
Thank you very much, my lady. Thank you, Mr. Malebe.
Thank you, Council.
Mr. Sibara?
Good morning, my lady. Let me yes, I'm on camera now. I'm here, my lady. I think my question is going to be very short. Mr. Malebe, I am Advocate Sibara.
Morning, Council.
Representing Dr. Manamela in these proceedings. May I proceed, my lady?
Yes, you may proceed. We don't know. Okay, proceed.
My lady,
you were just going to indicate where you're going with your questions, so
yes,
that we
let me do that, my lady. It's only directed to the very same paragraph line which my senior advocate has dealt with.
Okay.
Just to provide clarity.
Paragraph 11.
Paragraph 11, my lady. The very same wording which advocate SC read to the witness.
Yes, continue.
Mr. Malebe, my client was concerned with the allegations in paragraph 11, which you have clarified now, that you wanted to exert pressure on the department by calling Dr. Manamela. Did I capture it correctly?
Yes, Council.
And from time to time, when you were taking care of these patients, the funds were coming from the department. Is that correct?
Yes, Council.
They were not coming specifically from Dr. Manamela, but as the director of the department, you had to call her to say, department, make payments, we're struggling with funds. Is that correct?
Yes, Council.
So you were not literally saying to Dr. Manamela, you as a person, you are putting the patient's lives in danger, but however, the department by not putting funds. Is that correct?
100%, Council.
No further questions, madam.
Thank you. Ms. Siboko?
What is this, my lady?
Yes, do you have questions to the witness?
I do certainly, my lady, in respect of the same paragraph 11 on page 395.
Yes.
Mr. Malebe, my name is Advocate Tiny Siboko. I assist Dr. Lebete in these proceedings. I have a few questions which relate to the sentence in paragraph 11, line number 7. Further to that sentence where you had a meeting with Dr. Lebete, do you confirm that that was the meeting at Kalafong?
Yes, Council.
And at that meeting, you had intimated, I don't want to use the word threatened, but you intimated that you were wanting to send back the users because of all the challenges which you have just told the court right now earlier when you started talking, right?
Yes, Council.
And it was in the middle of December, and Dr. Malebe pleaded to you with you.
Dr. Malebe now, Dr. Lebete.
Dr. Lebete, I beg your pardon. Dr. Lebete pleaded with you that given the time of the year, we are now in festive season, that your suggestion of terminating at the end of December does not allow the department sufficient time to make alternative arrangements for those users.
Council, if I can just quickly clarify, before the meeting was the reason that there was a meeting with Dr. Lebete, and I don't know the other people from the department that were there. It was communicated way before that we wanted to terminate, and hence that meeting was called forward to, and that's when we met. That's why we were called into that meeting.
Right. But at that meeting, Dr. Lebete's undertakings on behalf of the department that you, as Bafenyi, would be assisted with food supplies did materialize. A company did deliver food to your entity. Cook Freeze delivered food at the Bafenyi.
No, I don't know which company, but food was delivered.
And a month later, the users were indeed relocated. And in that period, there were no deaths which occurred.
No, none whatsoever.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
None whatsoever, Council.
Thank you, sir. My lady, that concludes my cross-examination of Mr. Malebe.
Before you leave, Ms. Siboko, this question, I'm not sure if this question that you asked regarding the pleas by Dr. Lebete, I don't think the witness had finished answering that question, whether that answer was sufficient. If you can rephrase that question and let the witness answer that question regarding the meeting.
Yes.
Because according to how I understood his answer, he said that was not the first time that they were telling the department that they wanted to terminate the contract. Am I correct, Mr. Malebe?
Yes, Judge.
Yes, I just want you to go back to this question, please.
As a court pleases, my lady. During this time, around December 2016, Dr. Libete was acting head of department when he attended the meeting at Kalafong. Are you aware?
I didn't know his position, but now that you're making me aware, I'm aware now.
Right. At that meeting, am I correct to assume that you listed all the concerns which you had, which informed your taking the decision to return the users back to the department?
Yes, we did, Counsel.
Dr. Libete, on behalf of the department, made undertakings to assist with things like food, for an example.
Yes, he did.
And as you have already testified, a private company delivered food at your...
No, you are not taking the line. Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much, Ms. Siboke.
As a
I'll have to take this. I'll have to deal with this at a later stage. Thank you.
No further questions.
Because I think you seem to be repeating. That was not my main point. Okay, I think I'll come to this at the end. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Ms. Ramaimela, Ms. Mahlapi, do you have questions to this witness?
May it please the court, my lady, we do not have questions for this witness.
Ms. Poka, followed by Ms. Maite.
May it please the court, my lady. My lady, I do not have questions for the witness at this stage. However, I reserve my right to cross-examine him at a later stage, should there be a need to do so, my lady.
Thank you. Ms. Maite.
May it please you, my lady, I do not have questions for the witness at this stage.
Thank you. Mr. Shamangu, are you there?
As a court, please, my lady.
Do you have questions to the witness?
I have no questions to the witness, my lady. As a court, please.
Ms. Mboweni.
May it please the court, my lady, I do not have questions for this witness.
Mr. Profi.
My lady, on behalf of three NGOs I represent, I have no questions for this witness.
Thank you. Mr. Pichlela.
Thank you, my lady. On behalf of the five NGOs, persons within NGOs, we have no questions.
Thank you. We have Ms. Beauty Kekana. Do you have questions to the witness?
No questions, my lady. Thank you.
Mr. Veselo.
No questions for this witness, my lady.
Anybody who would reserve this cross-examination of the witness? I think it was, is it Mr. Pinar? If I start with Mr. Pinar, do you have questions to the witness, Mr. Pinar?
May it please the court, my lady. Just a single question, I presume, or I foresee, rather, my lady. And it's with regard to the statement Exhibit W. And
page?
That's page 392, my lady. Well, it commences on page 392 until page 396, my lady.
Is it Exhibit W or Exhibit X?
Sorry, my lady, Exhibit X. I made a mistake, my lady. Sorry.
Yes, I think we're getting confused here. Exhibit X, just a correction of that.
Thank you, my lady. I'm indebted to your ladyship.
Yes.
Thank you, my lady.
Yes, let's hear what the outline for the question.
My lady, it's only going to be with regard to the value to be attached to the statement Exhibit X that was deposed to by the witness, my lady, Mr. Malebe.
Okay, continue.
May it please the court, my lady. Mr. Malebe, by way of introduction, I'm Advocate Willem Pinaar, and I'm representing Miss Hannah Jacobus in these inquest proceedings.
Good morning, Counsel.
Good morning, sir. A single question to you. You have confirmed that you made the statement Exhibit X, which commences on page 392 of the record. Is that correct?
Yes, Counsel.
I just want to inquire, you confirmed that the statement as presented is complete. Do you confirm that?
I confirm, Counsel.
There are no issues you would like to add to your statement. Is that correct?
No, Counsel.
If you say no, you mean there's nothing to add.
Yes, there's nothing to add, Counsel.
Thank you, Mr. Malebe. Then I see this. Am I correct that your statement Exhibit X was duly commissioned by a Commissioner of Oath? Is that correct?
Yes, Counsel.
Prior to it being commissioned, was it read to you, or did you have the opportunity to
Just a second, Miss Marriott.
My lady, I do not know what the line of questioning is pertaining to Advocate Pinaar. The statement was handed in as an exhibit. These questions were asked to the witness. He confirmed the correctness of the statement and there was no objection relating to the statement. So I don't know where Advocate Pinaar is going with this line of questioning.
Mr. Pinaar.
May it please the court, my lady. No question was asked with regard to whether the statement had been.
Mr. Malebe, if you can excuse us, I asked you to step aside. Yes, Mr. Pinaar.
May it please the court, my lady, with all due respect to my learned friend, no question was put to this witness whether he had the opportunity and whether he actually made use of the opportunity to either read his statement before it was commissioned. I'm only putting the question to seek clarity in that regard, my lady.
Mr. Marriott, Miss Marriott.
May it please the court, my lady.
My lady, I do not see the purpose for that.
Before you answer, I think Mr. Sibara is also having an issue. Can I hear Mr. Sibara first?
As it please the court, my lady, with due respect to my senior, I think he's authenticating the statement. And we can only do that if a professional intends to ask questions which are contradictory to the contents of the statement. And now, Advocate Marriott, she's correct. The horse has already bolted. The statement has been admitted as made as an exhibit. This is an inquest proceedings, which, even though it takes a bit of a form and shape of a criminal matter, authentication of the statement with the witness, it doesn't take this case court any further.
Thank you, Mr. Sibara. Ms. Marriott? Ms. Marriott, Ms. Sibara can just lower his hand. Thank you.
I apologize. I have nothing further to add. I do not see the relevance for these questions, my lady.
Mr. Pinari, if you can just reply so that the court can make a ruling.
May it please the court, my lady. My lady, I'm not, with all due respect to my learned friends, endeavouring to authenticate the statement. I'm seeking clarity on the value to be attached ultimately to this statement. And this is with regard to at the final stages or when this Honourable Inquest Court is addressed regarding at the end of the inquest.
I see there is a hand by Mr. Late. Mr. Late.
On that basis, my lady, I'm posing these questions, and I'm basically, it's to determine the value that can be attached to the statement in future when addressing this Honourable Inquest Court on the merits, my lady. It's on that basis, my lady. May it please the court.
Thank you. Mr. Late.
My lady, the witness is testifying under oath today, and he confirmed the contents of the statement. So it's got all the proper value of a statement under oath. It's not necessary to go back to the authentication 2 years ago or 3 years ago, my lady.
Thank you very much. Do you want to say something, Mr. Pinares? And then I close the matter. I think don't repeat what you've already said.
No, my lady. Once again, my learned friend, with all due respect, is referring to authentication. I'm not dealing with authentication. I'm determining and endeavouring to obtain clarity on the value that can be attached to this statement at the end of the proceedings when this Honourable Court's to be addressed, my lady. And with all due respect to my learned friends, when presenting an affidavit, a statement in the form of an affidavit by a witness, in order for it to be complete, my lady, it would be proper, I would respectfully submit, to determine and present evidence which was not done in this case, that the witness had the opportunity to peruse the statement, to ensure that he or she was satisfied prior to commissioning. And that's the only issue that I'm trying to get clarity on, my lady. Nothing more than that.
Okay.
It's a simple issue, my lady.
I hear you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Pinar. I hear you. The fact of the matter is that I understand that that question was not posed to the witness, but the fact of the matter is that the witness was asked about the statement, and he confirmed the contents of the statement. And he continued to say that he doesn't want to add anything to the statement. He went through it and he's happy with it. So that was the basis on which the statement was handed in. There was no objection to the handing in of the statement, and the witness is here under oath. He has confirmed that statement. So I understand what you wanted to do, but at this stage, this is water under the bridge. The statement, as Mr. Sibara has indicated, the horse has bolted. The statement has already been admitted into evidence as an exhibit. Thank you very much, Mr. Pinar. Do you still have more questions? If the witness can come back.
Lady, may I just, with your ladies' indulgence.
Just before the witness comes back, I don't know what Mr. Pinar is going to say. Just a second, you may just, okay, thank you. Mr. Pinar?
May it please the court, my lady. Just one small issue, my lady. I'm in agreement with what your ladyship has presented and my learned friends has presented to your ladyship, my lady. But this is not a case where the horse has bolted, my lady. Therefore, when the exhibit was presented, my lady, it would have been improper to raise an objection before certain questions had been put, my lady. And it's only for the sake of clarity that this simple question has been presented, my lady, and put or posed to the witness, my lady, for no other reason. But, my lady, will accept it on the basis, my lady, with all due respect, as your ladyship has indicated, the witness confirmed his statement, but the fact remains, a witness can still at a later stage react and say, but I did not understand it. Was it read to me? Was this done or was that done? It's only on that basis, my lady, but I've got no further objection, my lady. I will leave it in the hands of the court. May it please the court, my lady.
Thank you very much.
It was a simple question, my lady.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pinar. The court has made its ruling. Thank you. The witness can come back. I don't know whether you still have more questions to the witness. Yes, you may proceed if you still have questions to the witness, Mr. Pinar.
May it please the court, my lady, I do not have further questions, and I will accept it on the basis, my lady, that what I endeavoured to obtain has been confirmed now.
Okay, thank you very much.
May it please the court, my lady.
Ms. Walker, I think you also reserved your cross-examination. Do you have questions now?
None, my lady. I don't have any questions.
Yes, Mr. Malebe, there was this question that you were asked by Ms. Siboko regarding the very same paragraph that everyone was asking you about. She referred to the meeting that was held at Kalafong, where Dr. Libete was there, and she used the word that you intimated that you wanted to send back the users. And Dr. Libete pleaded with you that the timing didn't give the department sufficient time to prepare the users. Yes. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do, Judge.
And as far as I can recall your question, your response, you were saying, what you said was that it was long communicated to the department that you were terminating the contract. If you can explain to us regarding that. No. I just felt that you were still giving more evidence with regard to that, because it was like Dr. Libete pleaded with you that the timing didn't give the department sufficient time. Would one be correct to be saying that by Dr. Libete?
Judge, at the point, I understood where they were coming from, but it was we had committed, but it was not an insensitive part on our part. I just wanted to clarify that we were not being insensitive to the department by saying that no, it was a haphazard decision that was taken.
No, yes, because I think the reason was that the timing she mentioned it was somewhere around December time.
Yes, it was around December time, but around the December time, it was already, I think it was already being started, the communication started to go through 2 months prior, if my memory serves me correct, you know. So from the department side, I think because I understood where they are coming from, because it involved a lot of planning in moving the mental health care users.
Yes.
But I wanted to just clarify that it was not a haphazard decision by Rabafeni just to say, no, listen, we are closing shop today. You must move. You must take your patients today. It was a decision that we had articulated. We had sat down, and we had communicated with the department prior. It was not an insensitive decision that was taken on our part.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from this question that I've asked this witness? Anybody having questions to this question?
None from Dr. Manamela's side, my lady.
Thank you, Mr. Boko.
None. Thank you, my lady.
Questions, my lady.
Mr. Boko, did you say you have questions?
May it please the court, my lady, no questions.
Mr. Boko, did you say you have none?
No, my lady, I have no questions.
Mr. Lead? Yes, thank you very much. Mr. Manamela, do you have questions to this witness?
May it please the court, my
Over
lady.
and above his testimony?
May it please the court, my lady, we have no questions to the witness.
You don't have questions to the witness?
Yes, my lady.
Thank you very much. That it means the witness has to be excused. Thank you, Mr. Malebe. You can leave us, Mr. Lind. Or...
Thank you, my lady. Your ladyship requested me to contact with Ms. Beauty Kikana to ascertain what her situation is. I tried for several times to contact her, but she didn't answer her phone. I hear that she is in this meeting now. If the court can just ascertain from Ms. Kikana what the situation is.
Ms. Kikana, thank you very much, Mr. Late. Ms. Kikana, are you there? Miss Beauty Kekana? We can't go on like this, eh? Nelly Siwe?
Yes, Judge.
Can you try and assist the evidence leaders to get hold of Miss Kekana in the meantime?
That's fine, Judge, but it does seem like she is in the meeting.
But
I'll
now
however call her, Judge.
Okay. Miss Kekana, are you there? I see it's about almost 10 past 11. Can we take the tea adjournment and then try, even the evidence leaders can try to contact Miss Kekana so that she can be in the proceedings when we resume at after 15 minutes, which will be at 11:25.
Ask the court, please, my lady.
The court will
please
take
the court, my lady. Sorry.
Thank you. The court will take a tea adjournment now.
May it please the court.
Mrs. Kekana, are you there? Am I talking alone?
My lady?
Yes, Mr. Lead.
Miss Marriott is busy phoning Mrs. Kekana.
Yes, Judge, I'm here.
She's got.
But she is in the meeting. I can see her.
Yeah, she's now, yeah. Thank you, my lady.
Yes, Judge, I'm here. I've got a running stomach. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it cannot go on like this. We can't understand what is happening because
Hello, Judge. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay,
But what is happening? This thing, it's not happening only today. Most of the time, we see you in the meeting, and when we want to talk to you, you are not there. I don't understand. You just keep quiet.
I'm
So
sorry,
it's not
that is
only for
because
today.
I am not well. I am sick. It's almost
All
2
these
months.
days you were sick, Mrs. Kekana?
Yes, Judge. I only reported on duty this week, and today I'm still having a running stomach since yesterday.
Yes, can you enlighten the court as to what are your intentions now? We heard the court has been explaining the issue of legal representation to you.
Okay, I think I will have to come without any legal representation because I don't have any money to can pay the attorneys.
Okay. So when are you going to testify? If you may, would you be in a position to arrange with the evidence leaders?
Yes, they can just tell me about the date so that I do arrange.
Is she on the list? I may. Is she on the list, Mr. Evidence leaders?
My lady, yes, she's number 30 on the list.
Yes, I can see that. That is why I thought it was
my
in
lady,
my mind.
Can I suggest that she testifies after Mr. Wessela, who will testify on Tuesday?
No, it's fine. Just arrange with her if she's okay, because she says she's still ill, she's not well, and all that.
We'll try and see whether she's ready on Wednesday.
Okay. She must ensure that when she's ready, she must tell us. I hope you hear Miss Kekana.
Yes, Judge.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Late, what is the way forward then?
The next witness is Mr. Wessela, who will testify on Tuesday. And if Mrs. Kekana is ready or healthy, she most probably will testify on Wednesday.
Okay.
Next week.
Let me check the dates. So today's proceedings will therefore be adjourned until next week, Tuesday, the 31st of May, 2022.
May it please the court, my lady.
May it please the court, my lady.
May it please the court. May it please the court.
Thank you.
Yes, please the court, my lady.